Okay, welcome year 10s. It is now Friday. Yes, I'm coming back later, but you might not see me, depends on traffic. But we're now, what are we on here? Period 4, Friday the 2nd. It's almost the weekend. So what we're going to do is, we're going to use these today. Hopefully you've got your own. If not, there are some over there in a box. Make sure they get put back, obviously. These are the ones that should have a little C on the back. That's my set. But please make sure you do look at getting one of these, alright? Because obviously there's a GCSE non-calculator, there's a GCSE calculator paper, and it's better if you get used to your own rather than getting one lent, because you might not get given the same one in the exam. So that's just something to bear in mind. The title for today, using a calculator, alright? And I can't really show you too much on the board, I need to kind of be close here. So what I'd like us to do first though, just so it makes it a bit clearer, is could you get the Unit 3 books, alright, Unit 3, over there, just down there, alright, in the corner, or they should be, okay, Unit 3. Alright, and what we're going to look at, there's two exercises, a lot of questions, but it gets you used to using a calculator. So it's on page 6 and 7, and there's two exercises, it's 1C and 1D. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to just talk you through like part A's of these, alright? I'm going to show you what to type in the calculator, and then also some of question 1D, okay? It just gets us used to using that calculator. Okay, so I'm going to keep that there so I can see it. Right then, so calculator, okay? So the on button is up here, okay? On, there we go. Now, if I look at if we look together at 1C, so hopefully we've got 1C, it's been given out, and we're okay. So the first one, 1A, it says 2.5 squared. Now, the great thing about these calculators is you can put the question that's in the book and you can type it exactly the same. So it should look the same as what's in the book, should be the same as what's on this calculator. So if we look at 1A, 2.5 squared, right? 2.5 we're probably all okay with, okay? I just pressed 2.5. But now we need to press a specific button, all right, to get the squared, and there's a little x squared just there. It's that x with a little 2, and you're going to press that. And then hopefully that little 2 pops up on the top. All right, so let's do that. Press equals, and you'll notice a fraction comes up. Now that's a bit awkward, but you'll get used to this button if you don't already know it. The SD button. Press that and it will change into its decimal, and it keeps changing if you keep pressing it. Okay, so 6.25 would be the answer for part A there, and I've typed it in. As you see, the question from the book looks exactly like that, and that's what I've typed in. Okay, let's press that. So, 2A. So this one's a little bit different. We're using the cube button. So this is 6 cubed. So what I do, where's my 6? There he is. And the cubed button is actually just up there. So it's the same as x squared, but this one's got a little 3. So x cubed. So I'll press that, and as you can see again, it looks just like the book. Press equals, and I get my answer. Alright? So the cube button up there, x cubed, type it in afterwards, it should look exactly like the question in the book. 3, so this one's a little bit different because this says to the power of 5. So the 2-bit is obvious, but again, we do that first. And then we use this button. So x to the power of, and there's a little square coloured in. Now that means, if you do that, a box should appear. And what you can do now is type any number into that box. So if it wants to the power of 5, type in 5, and a 5 will come up. Then press equals, and you get your answer. Now you could do that with any value if you wanted. So if I just delete that, if I wanted to the power of, I don't know, 10, yeah, I can type that in, 2 to the power of 10. That's what that button allows me to do. So type in your number to the power of, and then you type whatever number it is. So make sure it matches the question. Okay, the next one is just a little trickier, but I need to show you a specific button to press because there's a common mistake that happens here. So 4A, so 17, alright, I'm missing out the 17, hopefully you can just see that. So 17 squared, so our x squared button. Now the mistake some people make is, or this calculator sometimes does it for you, if you press take away, oh, too many takeaways. There we go. So 17 squared, add 10. I'm not going to show you where add and 10 is, but you've got to make sure it looks like this, because sometimes what happens is, I'll show you. So as you can see there, the 10 is big. Right, I'm going to show you what happens Alright, just give me a sec. Sometimes people end up with this, okay? So as you can see on that one, you've ended up with 17 squared, but the takeaway 10 is actually where the squared is, which isn't right. And sometimes that happens. So what we do is, when we get to this section, if you end up with the little flash like there is there, press the next arrow and the flash should go bigger. Because that means you're working where the power is, that means you're working on everything. So plus 10. So now it looks like the question in the book, and then I can press equals, and oh, where am I going there? There we go, I've got my answer. Okay? And it's the same with question 5a, so 2.1 cubed, so 2.1, and then I use my cube button. Where's he gone? Up there, cubed. And this one moves it for me, but sometimes you might end up there, so make sure you press the replay button and go to the next bit, and then I need to add 1.96, and for that one I get my answer and it comes straight up as decimal. So good times. On the next one, on 1D, exercise 1D, I'm only going to show you 2 buttons on this one, and then I'm going to leave you to it. So question 1A on exercise 1D, the square root button. Now the square root button is this button just here, square root with a little square in it. So you're going to click that, and then you're going to type in the number, so 529. And you see that the square root appears all over it, so that means the square root of 529. And then you just press equals. Okay, and your answer comes up. So that's not a major issue. But you've got to make sure you press the square root. And as you can see, the question there is exactly the same as the question in the book. There, that's where my book is. So it looks the same. Then if you look at 4a, there's a little 3. That means the cube root. Now to get the cube root, this is probably one of the more difficult ones to get, because you need to press shift and then you press the square root button. Because as you can see, above the square root button is a little yellow cube root sign. So anything you want in yellow, you have to press shift first, and anything you want in red, you have to press alpha first. So we want shift, square root button, and that brings up cube root. Then I can type my number in, so 216 is the question on part 4a, equals, and I get my answer. Alright? So you might want to just go through that again, because I did go through some of those buttons quite quickly, but if you just want to run through it again, not a problem. But what I would ask is that you do exercise 1C and 1D. I will say all the questions, and I don't feel bad saying it because you are using a calculator, so you're not doing much up there, it's just getting used to what's on here. So if you could do that, that's exercise 1C and 1D as much as you can, as best as you can, please. And Miss or Sir, if you could pause me anytime now, just so that I can then let you know where the answers are in the back. So I'm just going to talk for a minute just while you pause me, so I can tell you where the answers are. And then at the end of the lesson, with sort of 10 minutes to go, if you wouldn't mind just reading them out or get them to check themselves. I don't mind them knowing where the answers are, because if they need to check the answers, that's fine. If they're going to copy the answers, that's obvious, and they're not helping themselves. But we've already been through that, haven't we? Yes, we have. So, what are we? So 1C and 1D. So could you turn to page 184? Although I'm not happy with that, because that doesn't look right to me. Because 1C and 1D. That's interesting. The answers to 1C and 1D are in the wrong place. So, the answers to 1C are actually where it says exercise 1D at the back. So the answer to 1A was 6.25. So you can find that on the top of that page 184. And therefore the answers to exercise 1D are actually the answers on exercise 1E. So there you go, misprint. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Don't know why that is, but there you go. So if you get a mark in green pen, any mistakes you've made, correct in green pen. And other than that, have a good weekend. I'll see you next week. Hope you haven't missed me too much. See you in a bit.